welcome to another SEO video brought to you by Angel SEO. We've got another big scoop this week. We're a bit like Top Gear at the moment with all the A-listers that they're having. We had Ram a couple of weeks ago, and now we've got UK SEO expert Will Critchlow from Distilled. Thanks. Cheers.
I turned down an invitation from Top Gear, by the way.
Did? Oh, okay. No worries. Thanks for that. What we're going to do is a bit of a Q&A. I'm presuming most of you have seen the Ram video that we've done, so we're going to do the same. We've got some fun questions lined up at the end. Will has no idea what we're going to be doing, and he's promised me he's not done any prep either, so that should be really, really interesting. So Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, has said if you do build a great experience, customers tell each other about that. Word of mouth is very powerful. So with that in mind, what should customers expect from the offset from an SEO company?
Well, so obviously Jeff's a pretty smart guy.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say most of us quite like to be running his business, so you've got to listen to what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel like in a service business, like ours, knowledge is pretty important.
Sure. Okay.
I think Amazon's role is very much in it's kind of data, right? It's like aggregating best prices, aggregating customer reviews.
Yep.
That's kind of where they've won.
Okay.
We tend to be more at the guru advisor end of things. It's like one person's advice, but that person's advice is really important. So one of the approaches we've taken is excessive sharing.
Right. Okay. So
sharing too much information, too much knowledge,
right.
Giving stuff away. We had a board meeting on Friday, and we're getting. Do you think you're giving too much away in your webinars, in your training sessions?
Right.
Should you be keeping some of that stuff in house? And I'm always pushing back on that and saying it's the only marketing we've ever done, and it's powerful.
Okay. So you're saying then, from a customer's perspective, they need to be looking at how much an SEO company is sharing with regards to their knowledge.
That's what they would get from us, right?
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. There are plenty of people who fly under the radar, guys you've probably never even heard of, who are working with big names, who are doing great work. Okay. But I would say, if I was out there buying SEO services, I would probably want to see enough of the knowledge and expertise before I bought to get the feeling that these guys know what they're talking about.
Okay, so how would then, let's say, a customer, how would they know that that is the truth, what they're being told?
So
that's then the next step. That's the next
absolutely.
step.
And actually, Rand and I talked about that kind of problem on a Whiteboard Friday a while back. Let's see if we can dig out a link about essentially choosing an SEO consultant, which it's a tough problem because if you're qualified to choose, then you're probably
qualified to do the job.
You're not necessarily looking for a consultant in the first place. I would say it's very similar to the way that you go looking for any kind of difficult, complex service. Same way you hire a lawyer, an accountant, a tax advisor, anything like that.
Okay.
Where it's not in your realm of expertise.
Okay.
First off, when you're looking at the knowledge they're sharing, apply filter.
Right.
Even if it's not your.
We'll beat that.
Even if it's not your area of expertise.
Sure.
You can tell if somebody's smart, if they know what they're talking about, they've done their research.
Okay.
Find out what other people say about them, not just their services. And I think the SEO industry can become a bit of an ecosphere of where you can't tell whether people are really endorsing other people's work or not.
Right. Yeah.
But if you look at what people say about other people's public advice, you can very quickly get an idea of are these guys actually smart? Do they really know what they're talking about? And I guess back to Jeff's quote, it's customers, guys, people who've worked with in the past. That first-hand reference kind of thing. And we're quite careful with that because we don't want we get a lot of inquiries. We don't want our clients being constantly bugged by prospective ones. So we try and do that quite late in the process. So we'll give people case studies and all that kind of stuff very early in the process, and then have them take up personal references, pick up the phone and speak to existing clients later in the process.
Yeah, fantastic. Great stuff. Okay, that's really, really good. So moving on, so the next question, what is and why should companies be interested in search engine reputation management, or AKA search engine image protection?
So what is, first off,
yes.
I guess, this was something that we got interested in, I think, relatively early in the game. I remember chatting to Andy Beale, Marketing Pilgrim, about this back in 2006. Essentially, we're talking about the risks and opportunities to brands from what appears when you search for that brand's name.
Yeah.
And as with most of these things, we're often talking about Google here, and it can often involve universal search, images, news results, blog posts, now real time, all this kind of stuff. You only get one chance to make a first impression. What are people seeing about your brand when they go and, I think branded search is the new direct navigation, right? There's an awful lot of people who think Google's search box is the internet.
Sure, yeah.
And so that's, it's right there on the gateway. It's like you're posting negative newspaper stories on your corporate headquarters, which not many companies do. No. So what it is understand using the same techniques that we as SEOs understand and use on a marketing front to help promote the hopefully correct impression of businesses or individuals.
Yeah, because Google's like a shop window, isn't it? You do a search, top 10 results,
that's right.
That's your shop window.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you've got like a website number 1, you're bound to notice maybe 2, 3, and 4, and if it says something detrimental there.
There's a study, it's a couple of years old now, from I think e-consultancy,
right?
Saying that something like 70% of consumers will not buy from a company if they see a negative result in positions 2 or 3.
Really interesting stuff.
Which is big money, right?
Of course, yeah.
And the thing that we discovered is this whole industry has a tendency to start sounding shady.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to start talking about what about if you're covering up this or you're hiding that. And what we found actually is that those guys tend not to be that interested in cleaning up bad reputations.
Right.
It's the conscientious quality individuals, companies, brands who care about this stuff, who are therefore keeping an eye out on it, and who occasionally get stung by false allegations, by malicious rumours, by that's been by far the bulk of the inquiries that we've had on this.
So, have you ever worked with somebody then that's come to you and said, "Look, this has appeared in the search engine, there's a bad review," and literally ourselves have just plugged it?
Yes. I mean, we've had examples of that kind of thing. It's worth a fortune, right, to big brands or even medium-sized brands. I think it can be highly significant. And I think that the thing I always tell them is, first off, fix the thing.
Yeah.
If there's any legitimacy to the complaint, to the issue, fix that first.
Yeah,
because if you don't patch the leak, there's no point bailing out.
Sure.
Basically, and if on personal, when it's individuals, that tends to be stop saying stupid stuff first.
Yeah. Sure.
And in a company situation, it tends to be often there's some legitimacy to a complaint. It's very often an old complaint. It is the most common.
Yeah, I've seen examples where there's been a complaint about a particular company. You kind of delve deep, and it's on a forum, and it's nearly 4 years old, but it's number 1 in Google.
This is it.
Which is just crazy.
Well, and it's partly the very same elements of Google's algorithm that bubble up authoritative results for big search terms.
Yeah.
Have a tendency towards old content, towards powerful domains.
That's where real time's coming in good though at the moment. I've seen some really good examples at the moment where websites that they've posted kind of this week's gone bang straight number 1. For terms where a website's been there for like maybe 6-12 monthts. Yeah, it's crazy. So
and the problem is, of course, then you're playing with fire because the bad stuff goes in there as well.
Yeah,
and rumours spread. It's a fascinating area, and it's a very dynamic thing to work in. But I personally, I'm become very interested in it, and I think it's going to become increasingly important for even smaller companies.
Do you see it then getting to the same level as SEO?
No,
not
in spend, not in. It's too reactive.
As in importance. SEO is very important now. Do you see it being just as important?
I think it could be, but it won't be treated as such. My suspicion is it's always too, because it's companies spend money on this when they've already had a problem. Typically, there are companies who are doing very proactive, stuff ahead of the game.
Sure,
but they're rare. Right. Most companies, or they're doing it not for those reasons, which is a good, like engaging in social networking and all that kind of stuff for the right reasons. Is actually a great defence against this kind of thing, because your best asset are your brand evangelists, the guys who aren't you, who will stand up and defend you if something untrue has been said.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of companies who don't know they're doing this. They don't call it this,
Yeah.
but they are doing
That's
that.
exactly what they're doing.
But otherwise, it tends to be, look, something bad happened.
Yeah.
Now the CEO or the board's involved and they want it fixed.
Right.
And that reactivity just means that it's never going to get the attention it truly deserves. I think.
Great stuff. I think that's a really good explanation, and it's a really, really good explanation. Okay.